the it seemed like the results of it were results that seemed to be positive in lots of ways, and in some interesting ways. And right now I'm touching on theater, but it seemed like they were able to get some students to actually open up about what was happening, and do things where were able to work their way towards performing live. But that's not really the contest we're talking about today. But I think it does touched on certain things that to me are very important part of this particular contest. I'm sure that Elizabeth in her presentation talked about the focus being on story. And some of us who I'm not sure to admit people or not. I'll try anyway.
This is I will take care of that. So
that idea of storytelling, which is at the very core of what this contest is about. And the fact that in film, you are not interpreting somebody else's works from beginning to end. There's something very beautiful that I find in the fact that these students get to tell their own stories. And when you know, I know at the beginning it says, well, who knows what these stories are going to be like? They may just be trivial little silly things. They were not. They are not. I always like to think of Charles Dickens talking about the viewpoint of a child, to where we see a hobby horse and the child sees this horse that is 7 to 8 feet tall. Okay. To them, it's so real. It is so profound. It is an incredible method of telling stories. Additionally, I am of a strong feeling that this is very much the literature of a generation, and has been since transforming since the beginning of the whole industry, and of motion pictures and moving pictures and motion pictures and et cetera, as we want to change the names. But within the contest, we like to say that we are about story and storytelling, and not truly, to a great degree, here to really deal with the issues of the technicalities of the use of the camera, or what camera you're using versus, are you using a red versus my iPhone versus an iPad versus a Black Widow, or the Black Magic, or can't remember Black Widow. Okay, sorry about that, but that's one of the newer ones. Those multi-$1,000 pieces of equipment. We can have something really incredible happening on screen that does not require that budget and all of those things that we sometimes associate with filmmaking. How many $100,000 or $100 million pieces of work are spent on trash? Very honestly, trash that may or may not make it in the box office, and if it makes it in the box office, it's still trash. Okay, just trash that's sold well. And in this case, that process of the table talk, that process of creating the story, that process of storyboarding, all of that pre-production work that's involved there, that ultimately becomes the entry in this contest, is carrying a huge amount of weight in what we are looking for in terms of final product. And to me, after what we've just been through, I think one of my favorite stories that I heard in the last 2 weeks, I've been in the Valley and I've been in El Paso, obviously similarities in border areas and demographics and the like, uh, was the student who told his story, but was avoiding the family, was avoiding the noise, was avoiding the siblings, and sat down in a closet with a lamp and told the story. And in that story, you could overhear the parents fighting. You could overhear the other children screaming, and that kid was, sorry, was stopping the camera to avoid those things. There's a certain passion there. There's a certain love there. There's a certain desire to want to speak. And after what we've been through and may continue to go through in different ways or same ways or hopefully nothing like it, but I think we begin there with them. You know, whether you tell that story through narrative, whether you tell that story through a documentary, and I imagine Elizabeth talked about all the different ways you can do documentaries because she's got some real strong opinions about that are to be respected. You're using animation. What are you using to tell this? But it's all about, sometimes it may just be something, hey, we want to make people happy. Let's just make them laugh. Maybe they need a little thrill and we want to scare them for a few seconds. But that's what's there. So that's kind of my soapbox thing right now, okay? It's about giving those students the opportunity to speak from their hearts, from their souls, and as a collective, sometimes as an individual, sometimes, but getting them there. And that particular skill as they go later in life, as they grow up, will be a tremendous benefit to them in the life to come. So, looking at rules and the law, I don't. Does anybody have any questions about that at this point? Or a story to share?
No questions so far.
Okay, thank you, Paula. So as we look at the rules, I think it's important. Let's see, can I share screen here? Yes. I'm going to share screen. I'm going to share desktop one. Here we go. Let me take out a bunch of my things that don't need to be seen there, like paragraph labels and things of that nature. Don't say that. Don't say that. Sorry. During that delay, I did not get to clean up my desk. Here we go. Everybody okay? Everybody can see the screen from the UIL website?
Yes.
Okay, so where do we find things? We go to academics, we go to theater, we go to film. Okay, right there. Right there, you're going to find just about everything you need as we go into the year. You will find last year's State Film Awards slideshow, the Nobility Project, Social Impact Awards, their presentation of their awards. And by the way, thank you, Elizabeth Sykes, for all the work you did in getting these things prepared while I imagine you were at home with your pets. Okay. Over here at the updated, where you're going to be looking for rules and things is going to be right here. You've got a bit of a handbook. It used to call the frequently asked questions. It is now considered a handbook. And this is, of course, the one for last year, but we're not going to see a whole lot of changes. If we see changes, we will let you know as soon as possible. Pretty much it follows the standard UIL kind of participants. You know, you've got They must be currently enrolled in attending a UIL member school, and the entire production team must be enrolled full-time at the participating school during, well, I will now say the 2021-22 school year. If you have questions regarding eligibility, please contact the UIL and make sure that things are clear on that. There is no minimum or maximum number of contestants. You know, there may be a piece you're doing that's a one person. That could be like a documentary. I mean, that could involve one participant, because our participants are not the talent. Our participants are the people producing. Okay. As it says there, actors are not contestants if that is their only role in the project. So, you know, whether you're doing that or you're trying to do Ben-Hur and, you know, using the entire school, that's up to you. Okay. Make sure you train well on the chariots if you're doing Ben-Hur. Adult involvement, it involves the sponsors and on-screen talent. A lot of times, you know, if you need an older character, gray-haired character, and don't have time to spare to paint the hair, I may be available. Okay, and you can have somebody's parents, you can have teachers, other people play roles in your show that is very, very different from one-act play, but they may serve as on-screen talent. The sponsor, however, needs to be a full-time employee of the school district. And I think you have an interesting situation, because in some school districts, you have that central career technology kind of program that serves as a hub for 3 or 4 or 5 different schools where the kids go to study there. That is fine. However, you can't mix the student body in there. You can't have a part group of school A to school B and mix them up. You've got to create teams from that school and enter them under that school's name, because those are the member schools in the league. And you can't have any more than you can have team members in football from one school and another, you know, to create sort of an all-star team. You can't do that here either. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that clear? No questions? Okay. Time limits. Each school may submit 3 films in each of the following 4 categories. And I'll go back and talk about the categories a little deeper after I finish this part. But we have narrative, documentary. This does not include broadcast news or public service announcements. I need to be very clear about that, because I know some of the career technology contests do have PSA contests, and they do have broadcast news contests. We're looking for documentary. We have 2 categories. The other 2 involve animation, and we have computer digital animation, and the last one is traditional animation. For example, claymation. I'm noticed 100% hand-drawn, Lego, any type of stop motion, you know, kind of your Jason and the Argonauts, Sinbad film from Ray Harryhausen in the 60s and 50s. This does not include live actors filmed or photographed and then edited to create a strobe or animation looking effect. Again, I'm going to go back to 100% hand-drawn or created by hand with Legos or clay or plasticine or some other type of armature type work covered in latex or whatever the case may be. You know, if you have questions about those things, I think it's real important that you contact us or we talk about it. Sometimes I may ask you to send me a sample of what's there, and we can determine what category it fits in. And there's going to be a link I'll show you where we define the categories that's found on the UIL film page. Narrative and documentary films shall be 3 to 7 minutes in length. That includes everything. So titles, credits, I would say don't waste time on putting a countdown or, you know, logos for your school, things of nature. That time, use those precious seconds to tell story. I think it's important that there be some kind of credit at the end, particularly those that may be required for music or the like. But again, don't make it more about the film than what is on the bookends of it. Okay. Animation entry shall be 30 seconds to 3 minutes in length. And again, this includes any credits like narrative and documentary. Okay, questions about time limits? Nope, okay. So what's eligible material? Well, submitted films must be original works and are required to have clearances for music or other copyrighted material featured in the project. We also, like in one-act play, require a music log that will be kept on file at the school unless it's needed for some reason. If you make it to state, we do ask for a copy, but that's only if you make it to state. It's something you keep in file in case something comes up, in case a challenge comes up, in case, I don't know, some estate of one of the Beatles decides to go after you or something, we can know what's going on. The administration of the producing schools shall assure that the production does not offend the moral standards of the community. A signed community standards and copyright compliance form signed to certify that the entries have been carefully examined and approved for presentation is in there. The form, however, is not a separate piece of paper. It is built into the entry form. When you enter the piece, it will ask you there to it will ask who it is that's approving it. It'll ask if it's a superintendent, if it's a principal, or someone designated by the principal. But it's in the form. It's not a piece of paper that you would submit separately. Any questions about eligibility? When we say they must be original works, there's also, let me clarify that there's also that potential that you have for adaptation of works that may be in the public domain, of published works. I know in the past, I clearly remember a version of The Monkey's Paw being done. If you find things that are within the public domain or that you can get the rights to in terms of a short story to adapt, then so be it. Just make sure that you know what you're doing in terms of copyright there. How many times do we go watch a film that's based on something else, on a piece of literature, The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, things based on Marvel comic books and the like. So any questions about eligible material?
Nope.
All right, Paula. Thank you. Okay. Entry procedures. I'm going to tell you what, I still can't get used to this. Okay, this is kind of weird. I want to see your faces. I want to watch responses. Entry procedures. You'll be asked to submit an intent. Thank you, Tam. Will be asked to submit an intent to participate form by December 1st, 2020. That form can be found on the UIL website for film. And let me clarify from that, this is a survey, really. It's not an enrollment the way you would have in other UIL events that are, oh gosh almighty, we filled out the form, now we have to do it. This is a way for those of us who are planning the contest to sort of look at what may be coming in and planning in terms of the number of judges that we have, the number of sections and rounds and things. And typically in the past, it's ended up being about 3/4, okay, of what people say. So You know, if there's people saying, well, there's 1,000 films coming in, it's going to be 750 thereabouts, because you know, on December 1st, you've got all these teams working on stuff, and come the deadline, they didn't finish. Okay? The work didn't get done, something happened, and so there will be, you know, submit what you think you're going to do. Be Try to be realistic about it, because we're not going to tell you, well, you only listed two, you can't do three. Yes, you can still do three. That's fine. And there is no punishment. There is nothing that's going to happen because you filled this out and weren't able to participate at some point. So I'm right here. This says submission deadline. I am going to say, okay, because we don't know the date for state yet, that it's going to be sometime in January, February, okay? Until we have an actual date for state, we have to backtrack the rounds, and we still don't have that date yet. But pretty much you should be coming back from the holidays and being ready to submit your materials, okay? I still think the entry form will become active January 1st of 2022. And the form will be found on that particular site. You will see, for those of you who have not done it, you will see something that's referred to as the portal, the film portal. And that is what takes you, it's kind of the same as in theatrical design and in journalism and some other contests, in that it takes you to another site called Open Water, where you enter your entries, and that's where the judging takes place. That's where you find critiques. That's where you get to see results, so forth and so on. I mean, it's all found there, like I said at the beginning, on that UIL website. Sometime on some date there will be, I think, hopefully that will go away. That word, okay, we get rid of that word virtual. Bye-bye, goodbye forever. Okay. Hello, Jackie Cepeda, who just entered. And the date is not accurate yet, but check the websites for updates at that point. Okay? I heard somebody. Okay.
I have a question. I'm Karen Graves of Dallas.
Yes, Karen.
Travis Talented and Gifted Academy. Is there anything like this available that I can submit for my middle school 8th graders?
No, at this time, this is strictly from high school.
Okay.
And but I think it is something that is, and I think Paula might agree, that is definitely worthy of consideration. Some part of it to do maybe as part of the A+ program at that middle school level.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The films are evaluated, at any time over the years, we've needed about 150 plus judges. I'm going to tell you right now that these judges are 100% voluntary. They work hard. Sometimes they're evaluating 12, 15 films. Sometimes they're looking at 7. And what they do is they'll be submitted to this festival. They'll be previewed, critiqued, and ranked. Depending on the number of entries, but it has not changed thus far. In one, there's a panel of 3, and it's just advanced, non-advanced. So if they watch 12 films and 10 of them get 2 advancing votes, then 10 of them move on to the next level. If none of them get advancing votes, then none of them are going to advance. They're looking at the film by itself. They will critique it and, like I said, rank or advance it, depending on the levels, because the next levels will determine, the top 3 advance or top 2 advance or those kinds of things. The adjudicators will also provide ratings and notes and critiques. You know, I think like in any other contest, um, we're not unique to anything. I will say that every single judge that we have has film experience, has a film degree, teaches film, has taught film, or worked in the industry. Okay. A lot of people say, well, it's a bunch of theater people do. No, that is not the case. If it is theater people, it's theater people with film background. You know, I know one of them, for instance, my God, she was one of the producers for 30 something, worked in the film industry for a long time. And so be aware of that, those critiques. You know, just like you might get an oral critique in one act play or written evaluation, they can vary. They can vary in quality. They can vary in how extensive they go, how deep they go. And a lot of times you will need to let us know, hey, man, you know, this just wasn't adequate. There was something odd here. And I will communicate with those individual judges. They're usually pretty good about it. We're really stressed with them that this is educational work, that their job there is not to necessarily criticize, but to educate, okay, through criticism. I think that's very important. You know, we want to motivate students, and we want to make them. If there's something they need to work on, then it's important that they know what they need to work on and how to work on it. Not just the what, but a how. It's an important part of it. Originality, cinematic storytelling, and technical execution are the basis of the scoring, with a cinematic storytelling and originality being the strongest areas. Entries will go through a preliminary round. That's one I just described. And then those will go through a second qualifying round. And in that second round, it's actually set up like a tournament. And it's randomly assigned schools to sections, try to avoid schools from the same school, two films from the same school being in a section, unless sometimes you can't avoid it. They've done so well that, hey, somebody's going to have to fight it out. In the second round, there is something interesting that happens. Earlier, I mentioned the results that, you know, on the website, there were the results there for the Nobility Project. And it's a social impact award. Those are films that deal with social change and the needs to take action to better humanity in some form or fashion. Those films are nominated and then are sent to a totally different organization, group of people who will decide on who the top two are in each of the two divisions. And they give out cash awards. And their cash awards to be used to buy equipment for the school. I think it's 1,000 for first and 500 for second. This year they had a tie in Division 2, and so they gave each of the schools the first place award. But it's sort of, we're going one track, this goes this way. Some of these films that go to Nobility do not move up here. They just move on over here. Then there are films that do both. Okay. Does that make sense? They're nominated. We send the list of nominees. The Nobility Project, which is a nonprofit here in Austin, will then take a look at them, evaluate them, rank them, and send us the results of what they're doing before we have our state finals.
Louis, about how many are submitted every year to Austin?
In both divisions combined, I'm going to guesstimate, although I could find the results by going to the system. I'm going to say they ranged anywhere from 500 to 800. with about
Thank you.
2/3 coming from the Division Two, from the 5 and 6A, and a third coming from the 1, 2, 3, 4s.
Thank
And
you.
that's, I think, a pretty good ballpark estimate. Wouldn't you say, Paula?
Yes.
That's about right. You know, we really want to raise those 1, 2, 3 numbers so we can give them their own division, and give them the division, give 4 a division, give 5 a division, give 6 a division. But until we raise those numbers somehow, it's kind of a catch-22 that we're in right now. But we need to work on getting more film just in terms of entries, so we have numbers to show to justify state championships at that area. Answer your question. Okay. Those qualifying from the second round will go through state semifinal round. Those entries advancing to state in each category will be screened in whole or in digest form and ranked 1st through 6th at the state festival. Normally, unlike last year, we have done it at the Paramount Theater, which is a gorgeous space down in downtown Austin. And we roll out a red carpet for the kids. They get to come in and dress all fancy and pretty and sit down and watch all their films on the big screen at the Paramount. And that is a treat. I just love that part of it. And it makes for an extensive day, but you know what? I think for those kids, it moves very quickly. We've now done it. We do it in 2 parts. Take a break and come back and finish, and then do awards that night. I hope we're live up there, live on that stage, handing out awards, and that it continues as we plan. Then schools shall receive a written evaluation of film via the film contest portal for each level. Okay. Hello, Melissa is about to be admitted. Under the frequently asked questions, is there an entry fee? No. You know, there is no cost to enter here. And I can tell you, anybody who's in this group right now that does any of the festivals, any of the national festivals, or know that you sometimes pay hundreds per entry to enter a film. And so there is no cost here for you all. Can my advisor help me write, edit, or shoot the film? They may be on set. I hope you're on set with them, okay? And help. In fact, this is strongly advised. They may give artistic and technical advice throughout the process. We just don't want you doing the work for them, okay? We don't want you doing the drawing and technical theatrical design. You know, we don't want you doing the acting in one-act play. We don't want you doing the producing here. Let the kids do it. Give them guidance. As one would say, you know, you teach them how to fish, okay? Excuse me. This has always been a big question. May we use pre-generated materials, software, or automated animation software? And that is a no. We kind of have to look at different areas here, because there's a lot, you know, all over the place. You will find free software that will create little animations for you. Okay, you add the voice, and all of a sudden it does its own thing. We're going back to that idea of drawing and creating. So on the pre-generated materials, we're talking about, hey, yeah, I can go buy this 3-dimensional model that we can animate digitally. But what the kid needs to know, and sorry I use the word kid, I still do. What the kid needs to learn to do is how to build it, how to make it, how to create it, and then bring it to life. I remember early on, there was a particular piece of animation the first year that was technically beautifully executed, but there was no story. And the best way I could describe it was, yeah, this particular dinosaur or whatever it was, creature is gorgeous, and yes, technically everything is right about it. but it never destroyed Tokyo. Okay, so there was no story there for us to follow, for us to watch, and it needed that plot. Okay, um, the when if you have questions about pre-generated materials or software, one of the best things that you can do is email us and give us a link to that particular software or freeware or whatever you've got, and we will get back to you. Okay, we'll get back to you on it. How about anything on language or content? See the UIL Constitution. Yes. Every so often we've had to beep something out, or someone drops an F bomb or something like that. You cannot do that. The same standards rules apply for the film contest. Paula, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Because one of the things that we do have here is you've got a new rule coming up regarding violence.
Correct.
Is this going to apply here?
Currently, it applies only to one-act play.
Okay. All righty.
But we'll look at it. It's not an official rule yet.
We need to look at it, and it just occurred to me right now.
Mhm.
Have that, and so we'll see what happens there. But you know, in terms of also, because I know that some of the career tech contests do not allow any violence whatsoever. We have not gone to that extent. Okay, I think things we watch on television, I don't care if it's children's work or there is something involved that could be called that. I mean, whether we're talking dagger swords or even Lego characters destroying each other. I think one of the most violent pieces I ever saw in this contest involved Legos. And my gosh, I mean, they had more stage blood all over those Lego pieces than I'd ever seen in a play. But be looking for that. We will obviously send in any kind of warning if there's any kind of change there. But I thought I'd bring it up just as a
Right. And I was to clarify, the rule he's talking about is it's not an official rule yet, but contact, slaps, kicks, hits to the face, the head, the neck, basically above the shoulders, will be prohibited. So
yeah.
that'll go into effect in October.
How I feel about it. So, thank you. There is no amateur rule that means, hey, if you have got a kid that does professional film or TV or commercial credits or whatever, they can, unlike athletics, they can do this. Can our students work with my friends that go to another school? Maybe not your friends, but their friends. Only as on-screen or voice talent. Okay. Can I use my little brother or sister from middle school in the cast? What about adults? Yes, you can. And again, in the cast. Does mockumentary fall under narrative or documentary? It's narrative because it's not true. Okay, it is a mockumentary. It's fiction, and needs to fall into the narrative category. And I'm going to tell you, as sponsors, be very careful about the categories. Sometimes you accidentally click the wrong thing, and all of a sudden, a 6A school's competing with 1A schools with a documentary that's really a narrative. And some judge says, hey, what's going on here? And we work on making changes when we can. Sometimes it's too late to do it. So be careful with what you do there. What will I need to prove I have permission to use the music and stock footage? Receipts will need to be produced if requested by the state contest director. A music log should be maintained and kept on file. That is something that is signed by the school. It is yours. You put we assume that they are honest and truthful. Okay. Using stock footage when you buy it. You know, there's your film may contain stock footage as needed for a documentary. Stock footage in narrative and animation series may not be more than 10% of the total running time. You know, sometimes you need a a nuclear blast, let's say, for one. So I've seen that. Or NASA provides a lot of stock footage that involves film they've gathered, images they've gathered from all the space missions and the like, moon landings, things like that. Yes, you may use them. Now, the difference being that in a documentary, sometimes it's all about stock footage. It could be that you have to use stock footage to present something historical or to back up something that's being said. And so we felt at the beginning that there was no need to limit that, except that I think if you use too much of it, it weakens your film sometimes. You don't need to use enough of it, it weakens your film. Okay. So here again, you may use stock footage as needed for a documentary and no more than 10% in animation or narrative. Again, I already talked about this. You're not locked in to compete if you file an intent to participate. Will I need location permissions, waivers, etc.? Well, you need to check with each location. You've got somebody in witness protection, and all of a sudden you get a shot of them in front of their brand new house, and put it up on YouTube or something. There may be some problems. So waivers from talent. We do ask that you have those waivers from the talent, okay? That you keep those on file, and that you get them from each talent member and keep those on file. And then what we eventually ask for at the state level is a form from the coach that says we have these things on file, okay? So, your Ben-Hur cast, I don't want to receive that 50-pound box of paper to file away. We just want that one sheet from you to do that. Again, disregard the submission deadline. Will the school receive any points towards academic championships? Yes, at the state level, yes. Schools placing at state shall receive points that count towards the overall academic championship. Additionally, points from one-act play, film, and theatrical design shall count towards the overall state theater championship. These points are equivalent to any group contest in academics. So winning narrative film is the same as winning theatrical design, is the same as winning one-act play. What's the point schedule? It's still that way, right, Paula? No answer. Okay. Can I view winning films in previous years? Of course, yes. We have some of the links are broken; they're no longer there. But I think we have the films going back to the first film contest, and it's kind of fun to watch. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and throughout the years, one of the most common things I hear every year from some of the judges is they keep getting better. The films keep getting better, and that makes me that's a feel good, okay, for me to hear that, because I mean it means there's growth, it means there's education going on, and so I think it's interesting to go back and watch, spend some time in class and watch. And let's say you're in Division 2 or 5A or 6A, go watch what 1, 2, 3, and 4 are doing. Okay. Sometimes we tend to think, well, we're over here, we're going to stick to what. Go watch what everyone's doing, because sometimes, like I said, the creativity that comes from here, okay, or some of these areas, is just really phenomenal. Okay, right now I'd be stand say how many of you are new to this contest and say raise your hands. Can't really do that, I guess. But are there any workshops or presentations I can view that would help? You're at one of them right now, and I hope this has been helpful to you. These are the workshops that I always said in when I was working at UIL. I said I'm going to go do nuts and bolts, okay, and they're not necessarily the most exciting of the workshops. I can tell you that I know there's some student activity conference, workshop opportunities, and I know that at I still say TETA. At TXETA, there will be 2 full days of workshops on filmmaking, and including one from me. Actually, 2 that I'm doing. One is on getting funding, and the other one is on again similar to this. One of the neat opportunities that you have, and it's something I've always wanted to do here at UIL, was they do the 24-hour film festival. And if you have students at the convention, they get to go out and for 20, they draw for a genre, they draw certain lines and a prop, and they've got to build a script around these things, film it, edit it, present it, and then it goes up at the IMAX theater the second night. And there are cash awards for those things. So, if you're out there and you've got students do it, I've seen some, just some awfully in the positive way, okay? Not awfully as an awful. Brilliant, funny, scary things done in those few minutes, and how they managed to work the pear or cashew or I don't know what into it, and it somehow works in there, and some of them are just brilliant to see that kind of work happen overnight. And then they do I think it's a 3-hour animation contest using a little box that you can order, that's sort of a blue box, a green screen kind of a box with figures that you can move and animate stories, which I think is a great exercise for it. There'll be a couple of people that have been lined up over there. I'll be there. Chris Cadell will be doing, for those of you who are interested, the Film 101, how to teach film in 36 weeks of curriculum, those kinds of things happening there. So we are hitting almost 4 o'clock. Questions? Anything I've left out that you think I need to cover?
Did you cover eligibility about ones they submit that everyone needs to be eligible? Did you cover that part? Because that was that question about, go ahead.
Do you have a new interpretation on that?
No.
Is it, I'm sorry.
It's the same. It's the same.
Showing the animal. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
When you submit, for those of you who know show animals in schools, the closest interpretation we could find to film had to be, I told somebody it had to do with showing a pig at the stock show. And because of the time you spend. So a group of kids works on a project, they're all eligible when you submit it. Okay? It gets judged. What happens at state is if that student is ineligible at that time, they cannot attend the state meet. Somebody else has to, if it's like an animator that's solo work, then you'd have that one student. Somebody has to accept the award for that student, or for the school. That's how that works, because you're entering as a school and not as an individual. And so, if something happens to that student, the school may accept the award for the school. Make sense? Am I still on the right track, Paula?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Gosh, we have 32 participants. It's wonderful. I did one 3 weeks ago for one person. That's great. All of you out there, that are there. I recognize some of the names. Some names are new to me here, but I want to thank you for being here, taking the interest to come in. If you can find that time to, for instance, some of your schools may have very strong career technology, video technology, animation programs, and the like. Some of you are theater and have created programs within your theater programs and found ways to get equipment and buy equipment and do all those things. Find time to do this because you owe it, I think, I'm going to preach a little, excuse me, but you owe it to the child to give them a full-rounded performing arts education. And when you say, for so many years we were purists in theater, we didn't want a thing to do with those other things that came centuries after us. And yet, if we look at it in vocational terms, in scholarship terms, oh gosh, man, look at the end credits of a film. I sat through, I shouldn't say I sat through because I enjoyed Black Widow at the theater the other day. And I just kept looking at it. I said, what does that person do now? All of these new people. One I figured is you dangle people. I think what you do is you dangle people in front of a green screen. And you see that. But this is an opening that I think our students need to understand, that there are accountants in our fields, that there are lawyers in entertainment, that there are so many, many, many possibilities there. And this is a way, a place to get, yes, we do have a dog, that we have a way to get them to test the waters, okay, and try things out. It also gives you a unit to teach, a unit to work with, and I bet the FedEx person's coming in, that you give it a try. Let those students take that risk, take that chance, get out there and do it, and you be there to supervise, and just make sure they stay out of trouble. Okay, get the paperwork done for them, get those things done for them, and give them that one extra bit of knowledge, knowledge and experience. And it's another group of kids that get the chance to excel. What's the whole logo behind UIL? What is the whole slogan behind UIL? Opportunities. And this opportunity is here. It's here for you. It's here for them. Give them that opportunity. Let them try it out. Every child in that classroom is there for a reason. And sometimes you discover that one kid that is in your class for 2 years and never wanted to do a scene, would never do a monologue, actually wanted to make costumes, or wanted to do magic, or wanted to do film or sound mixing, or write music. But the opportunities in our schools and the curriculum, it's like I had an interesting discussion from a teacher here in Austin saying, why are we under academics? Film is not academics. And I said, because they're the ones that took us. I said, they're the ones that gave us the opportunity. Okay? And so it's there for you, it's there for them. Any other questions?
No questions, but this is a great comment from Tana Free. She says, let me see if I can find that. My daughter was the 2017 Young Filmmaker 3A winner, an experience she still treasures. She learned invaluable lessons. Today is the editor-in-chief of the Texas Angus News and has published 2 magazines so far. That's from Tana Free. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's great. I got an email the other day from one of our third place winners from last year that their film has now made it to one of the big New York film
High school
festivals.
film festivals, yes. Mhm.
It'll be shown in New York at the AMC theater, one of the AMC. There's several, but that's always good to hear. It's good to hear and to see that.
All right. Well, Luis, thank you. I don't think we have any more questions or comments. So a lot of thank yous.
Hey, thank you, Paul. Thanks for the opportunity. I will hopefully see all your films. I'm gonna make a list of the names of all these people that were here. We'll double check once the entries are in.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you, everyone. It's been a great conference. So,
All right.
folks, yeah, go ahead, Luis.
Right, my apologies, but it was not working, and then finally we had just had our internet fixed, and then it made me download the Zoom again and then upgrade Zoom, and it was just okay, little razzle and frazzle there. Okay, yeah.
Our new reality. All right, you folks have a great weekend and have a wonderful start of the school year. And we'll see you at the next UIL event, okay? Or Theater Fest or Student Activity Conference. So thank y'all. Bye-bye.